Today, as part of our Business Spotlight program, I'm with Danny Forde. He's the CEO of Class Medical, and they're based in Limerick. So over to you, Danny. What is it you do, and for how long have you been doing it?
Kevin, thanks very much. It's great to be speaking with you. So, as you mentioned, I'm CEO with Class Medical. We are, as the name might suggest, a medical device company. We're based just outside Limerick. We're a startup, but I think we are, well advanced in terms of the journey of a startup. And I think, as you say, the focus of the discussion is about business growth, and I think we're right in the thick of that at present. So, hopefully, what I have to share will be of interest. But to kind of give you a bit of background about Class Medical, the company has existed since 2014. Its offering or its technology is a catheter safety valve that is used to prevent and indeed eliminate the risk of inadvertently inflating the anchoring balloon of an indwelling urinary catheter when you're still in the urethra rather than where you should be, which is in the bladder. So that is a serious and recurring medical error that can lead to some pretty profound and difficult to resolve complications, and is quite a significant expense for healthcare organizations as well. If you like, indwelling catheters are a hydraulic system. All hydraulic systems should have a safety valve. Our transurethral catheter safety valve is just that. We've done a lot in terms of establishing the provenance of the technology, a number of clinical trials, published clinical research. We've got regulatory approvals in place in key markets like the UK, Ireland, Australia, and are working towards FDA approval for the US as well. And we're right at that inflection point in terms of our growth, onboarding new distribution partners here and internationally as well. And yeah, I think we're very much looking forward to the discussion today.
Great, fantastic. And when you say you've been going since 2014, it's taken that time to get all the approvals you talk about, is it, or to get yourself positioned, I suppose, for growth or platform for growth?
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. I think it speaks in some respects to the resilience of the company. Things have taken a while. I suppose the company has been pretty capital efficient. The funds that they've had at their disposal have been put to good use. I think there were, some factors around things like COVID and so on and so forth that didn't help. Just as you reached commercial stage with a device that's going to be primarily used in an acute hospital setting, was probably a bad time to be contending with a global pandemic. We weren't the only company suffering, of course, but that did, I think, slow down our progress for a little while. However, I think that the benefit of spending that time to get the technology right, to get the right manufacturing partners in place, to get the regulatory approvals in hand, and to, I think most importantly, build up the evidence in support of the adoption of the device. Really, the provenance of the technology has been very, very well established. And I think I'm fortunate, having joined the business just in the last year, that I can leverage a lot of the legwork that was done before I came along. And, as I'm out there talking to key opinion leaders, prospective customers, and those that are going to be working with the safety valve every day, there's never a question mark over whether the device will work. And that's the advantage, I suppose, afforded to us by all of the time and effort that went into establishing that provenance.
Fantastic. And so is this kind of like patent protected, or is it a common technology?
No, absolutely. It's well protected from an intellectual property perspective. We've got patents in place in the key markets, again, US, EU, and China. Those extend out to 2034, and naturally, we're looking at options to continue, protecting that technology into the future as well. I think it is probably a rare but wonderful example of something that perhaps is a low tech solution to a long-standing problem, but that technology is proprietary and is very well protected from an IP perspective. So yeah, it's certainly something that we're conscious of whenever you're selling a consumable like we have with the valve. The potential for competition is significant because the commercial opportunity is itself significant as well. But very strong patents in place. And as I say, I think we'll certainly be investing in extending the lifetime of those patents into the future as well.
Fantastic. Yeah. I know when I was in college, I worked as an orderly in the hospital with geriatric patients, and a lot of them had catheters. And the complication, I'm going way back now. But yeah, I can understand the complications that arise even just from observing as a young, well, basically a student, you know. But
I suppose it's indwelling or Foley catheterization, as it's sometimes known, has been in existence for nearly 100 years. But it's an inherent challenge of the fact that it's effectively a blind procedure. I mean, you're inserting a catheter up the urethra and trying to reach the bladder, a journey of about 20 centimeters. You don't have an imaging solution on hand to know when you've gotten that anchoring balloon correctly positioned in the bladder. If you inadvertently inflate the balloon when you're still in the urethra, it's going to, of course, be painful for the patient, but it's
yes,
also going to cause a number of, as I say, pretty serious and very difficult to treat complications. You've got increased risk of infection, urethral strictures, and in fact, there's even a higher morbidity risk where patients have, unfortunately, been on the receiving end of a catheter balloon injury. And like in terms of the incidence rate, it's as I say, it's not uncommon. Again, unfortunately, about 1% of all males, and of course, it's more of an issue for males with a long urethra. About 1% of all males who are receiving an indwelling catheter will be injured by that catheter in some way, shape, or form.
mm,
So there's certainly a problem and need that's there to be addressed. It's a very common procedure. You're talking, probably around 500 million indwelling catheters fitted around the globe annually.
well,
So, very quickly the incidence and the complications and the cost start to stack up. And as I say, the valve is a very intuitive, very straightforward solution to that long-standing problem.
fantastic, fantastic. That's absolutely brilliant. And again, I said, well, you're in it about a year, but you have previous experience. You know, if you had to start from square one in business, what would you do differently, or what do you think Mass Medical would do differently?
I think it's a great question. I think, from my own personal perspective, I suppose, but the biggest learning is that learning compounds over time. And I wish I'd had the foresight when I was starting out in the medical device industry. And I didn't arrive into it, I suppose, by design. It was more by chance than anything else. But if I'd had the foresight to understand, that front end learning, how quickly that could compound, I think once I got a bit of a sense of, just how much room for growth there was in terms of a career in this industry. Kind of leaned into that as quickly as I could. But it did take me a couple of years. I was extremely green, I suppose, to get to that understanding of, well, actually, I should spend time just sitting and speaking with those who are experienced in this industry, understanding what considerations are at play for them. And I suppose I would encourage anybody who's starting out, whatever the industry is, if you're looking to build a career there, take the time to learn as much as you can about it. Obviously, you'll have to, deal with the responsibilities of the day-to-day job. But if it's a career you're looking to, yeah, establish yourself in, make sure you're, building the network, having those conversations, and, voraciously learning as much as you can about the industry because it really does compound over time. I think then looking at Class Medical. I suppose I'd argue that it would be a rare startup that after 10 or 11 years couldn't look back and see where they might have done things differently. Certainly, I think again that the fact that the company is still standing and is indeed very favorably positioned for growth into the future is a testament both to the quality of the technology and to those founders that remain an active part of the business today. Again, I think, with the benefit of hindsight, perhaps if they had had greater access to funds earlier on in their journey, perhaps if they had, insight from other seasoned medical device investors earlier in their journey, it could have been that the journey might have been a little bit shorter. But I think that's only with the benefit of hindsight. I'm sure if you were to wind the clock back, everybody felt like they were doing the right thing at the time. And I think there's truth to that too, given where we are today.
Fantastic. Yeah, fantastic. Yeah. Yeah, I think it's a common theme when I ask business owners that, that they spend more time upfront studying, talking, networking, whatever you can
Hmm.
do. Yeah, I've talked to another one that was a startup, again, technological, if I could say that, startup.
Hmm.
They started with a product they thought the market would like, to discover that
Hmm.
years later the market didn't like that, and they had to go back to the market
Hmm.
to find out. And they've adjusted it, pivoted, and now highly successful. But it's, talk to your market, I think, basically is the thing. And I think if you may have touched on it, but what have been your biggest learnings as an employer since you began in business?
Yeah, I mean, I think I was reflecting on this question. I suppose really I've only been an employer, if you like, in the hot seat as a CEO for a short period of time. But I suppose maybe an observation I would have had is, down through the years is that, really in business it's a team sport,
Yeah,
um, and I think you have to work together as a team. And I think there was a great saying. I think it came from an American footballer years ago, but the last place I saw it was on the dressing room of the Galway United football team. The more we help out the players next to us, the better players that we are. And I think that's certainly true in business. I think where you're pursuing a common goal, it's very important that everybody is not only looking after their own end, but also making sure that everybody around them feels supported to pursue that goal. And I think the more you kind of foster that kind of sense of collective spirit, the further that you'll get. So I think that's been true, kind of throughout my career so far. And when I look back, I think the times when um, things were moving forward most quickly or positively was the time when the team was, had that strongest sense of shared purpose. And I think hopefully that's something that we'll be able to continue fostering at Class Medical as well.
fantastic. Yeah, no, absolutely, couldn't agree more.
Mm.
I suppose another aspect. I mean, how do you balance your personal life with the demands of running a business?
I have no choice but to, I suppose. But yeah, certainly. I mean, I think, I've got three young children. So that certainly, helps to keep me grounded. I think I'm fortunate in that, there's a degree of autonomy and flexibility in the role with Class Medical, and I think we treat everyone on the team like professionals, like adults, and life is busy, right? As long as the job is getting done, as long as people are kind of communicating about what limitations or considerations they might be up against, then there's an understanding there that you have to attend to the other aspects of your life as well. Yeah, and I think for me, it's important that a healthy body is a healthy mind. So I do my best to try and keep fit and so on and so forth as well. And I think that's always a good way to um, that's a good. I find it a good way to, I suppose, spend some time reflecting on the challenges of the business. If you're out there getting the miles in, it's a good headspace, I suppose, to explore what you might do to kind of continue the success of the business. Um, so yeah, I think it's a constant challenge, and it's a constant juggling act. But I think in the round, it's proving reasonably okay at the minute, I would say.
Fantastic. Okay. Okay. Good stuff.
Mhm.
So, really, I suppose when I talk to this, I always get a laugh or a smile from business owners when I ask that question. They kind of reflect on it. But yeah, I think it's about scheduling in time, making the best use of your time, basically, and scheduling in that family time or whatever it is.
Yeah,
That famous.
absolutely. I think, and again, it's perhaps one of those things that when you're starting out in your career is a bit harder to get at. But I think, as you get a bit more experience, um, you do, get a greater understanding of what's really important in life. And yes, you have to make sure that, as a leader, that business is being attended to. But don't really have much truck with martyrdom either. I think it's about achieving a nice balance. A nice balance. And I think credit to the rest of the group around Class Medical, be it the investors, be it the directors, shareholders, the other members of the team. I think it's one of the values that we possess as a business is that, yes, this is important, but so is the rest of life as well. And it's not a case that one should be neglected in favor of the other.
Fantastic. Yeah, fantastic. Yeah, no, because we know that, engaged employees, happy employees, they're happy coming to work. They're so much more productive than somebody who's you may be under pressure and exhausted and maybe getting
Yeah.
getting pressure at home, sort of thing. Um, what qualities do you look for in employees, and how do you foster a positive and productive environment? We touched a bit on it, but maybe just expand a bit on that.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. Again, I was having a bit of a think about this question. I think I suppose there's an endless number of qualities you'd ideally like to have, but I think one of the ones that's kind of most um, important to me and something I do try to act upon as well is maybe call it honesty, maybe call it conscientiousness, but I think doing what you say you're going to do will get you a long way in business. Um, I think there's nothing worse than, kind of, overcommitting and under-delivering. I think it's always refreshing when somebody says, I can't do this, and here are the reasons why I can't do this, and feels empowered to have that kind of open communication. Um, you know, uh, Nobody's perfect, particularly myself. But I do think that when you're working as part of a team, when you're trying to grow a business, the more kind of honest communication you can have, and the more um, follow through that people provide, as they're kind of committing to something that they follow through on that. I think that will get you a long way. And I think though that quality of being able to act with integrity and then, as I say, follow through on a commitment would be a really important one for me. As I say, I'm not sure if I always follow it myself, but I'd like to think I try. And I think as I mentioned, the communication is the other side of that. But I think the more you have people who um, enact that um, and demonstrate that when given autonomy, they can still be accountable. I think that's what makes for a very happy work environment. That there's no need for micromanagement. Nobody's going to be standing over their shoulder while they're doing something. There's a high degree of trust across the team. There's a recognition that that individual is capable, is empowered, that they will meet their commitments, and that if they can't, they will be quick to share, problems that they may be encountering, and will be quick to try and find a way to help them. I think that is, very important for a high performing team. And again, I think it's something that we're doing well at Class Medical, and I think we'll continue to kind of strive to do so.
Fantastic, fantastic. Um, Great. And just to round up, what are some common misconceptions about running a business and how do you address them?
Yeah, again, I suppose I'm speaking from a position of greater knowledge now, as I say that I'm in the CEO hot seat, and I certainly I'm never always quite sure if I'm doing the right thing. I suppose again, looking back at the early part of my career, I would have looked to leaders, investors, and so on and so forth, and just assumed that they always knew what the right next step to take was, that they always had greater knowledge about whatever decision was at hand, and that they were working off a long established blueprint that I simply didn't have access to. As I've advanced through my career, what's become very clear, not that everybody's winging it, I don't want to characterize it as that, but that you never have enough information. Um, and that there is always uncertainty and there is always a sense of, muddling through and finding your way. But I often think of something somebody said to me once upon a time about any course of action, is that it's sometimes better to be wrong than confused. So again, I try and practice that a little bit. Is that sometimes you find if you're not quite sure what to do something, and sooner or later somebody or something will come along and tell you whether it's going well or not, and then you have the opportunity to course correct. But you do learn by doing, I suppose. And again, I'm certainly experiencing that since I've taken up the CEO role as well. But yeah, I think that would be one of the biggest misconceptions is don't assume just because somebody has greater experience or a broader network that automatically they have a divine understanding of the world and business and so on and so forth. I think everybody is dealing with a degree of uncertainty, and everybody is trying to figure things out as they go along in some sense.
Yep. Fantastic. Listen, Danny, it's been great talking to you. There's some great pearls there and there for our viewers. Really appreciate you taking the time in what must be a busy schedule, getting it up and running. And I suppose the next stage, wish you every bit of luck on the next stage of getting that product out into market and getting a commercial return on it. So again, thanks again, Danny. Okay.
Thanks so much, Kevin. Really enjoyed the conversation. Thank you.